Welcome to the first data economy female success story, which is told us by the truly inspirational and persistent Marjukka Niinioja. She is the founder of Osaango Ltd, which offers services in the API and data economy. Marjukka is also business and technical consultant, speaking at multiple API conferences, is co-author of API Economy 101 book, as well as the mother of the lean, open, and business-oriented APIOps Cycles method. On top of that, she has more than 10 years of experience with the API and data economy across manufacturing, process, forest, retail, energy, ICT, construction, traffic, and other industries. She also teaches API and data economy and has created Open University online and remote courses about the subjects with different universities, as well as KONE and Cisco Solutions. So we have a truly multi-talented and experienced speaker opening up the series for us. So Marjukka, go ahead.
Thank you, Jarkko. And just a reminder for everybody, this is supposed to be interactive, but if you don't want to appear in the video or audio, you can of course ask any questions in the chat or open your mic and ask them. So this is a discussion and a kind of interactive session more than a lecture of any kind. So I thank Jarkko for inviting me and some of the others to talk about data economy and not just talk about data economy, but our personal experiences in entering jobs and roles where we have had the pleasure of working with data and creating some business and product and service opportunities and helping some other organizations to do that too. And I think with my background, I have a combination of education, business and technical training, and I have been interested in very many things since I was a child. So I think that is one thing that I feel has made me, if not successful, then quite interested in the data economy and has helped me across a lot of different cases and projects and organizations. Because the one thing that we learn often when working on and with data is that it's quite easy to actually gather data. Well, relatively easy. We'll come to that a bit later when it's not so easy. But the really difficult thing is to understand what to do with the data. What are the business opportunities and what are the kind of learning curves for humans to deal with the data? Because actually I would say, and I always say this actually to my clients and my students, for example, when training, that technology is actually the easy bit. The difficult bit is the people and the organizations and business. And I have my colleague here, Gunta, from my team, and we have spent countless sessions thinking of like the psychological, sociological systems thinking and other aspects around our cases and how to kind of help our customers deal with those sides of the data economy, both for use cases of data, but also transformation of people and organizations to work around data in the and data economy in the right way. And so in Osaango, we do specialize in kind of like, I would say, boutique consultancy. So we are just about API and data, but in a variety of contexts, so different industries and different kind of business and technology and transformation cases. And our clients are, well, they used to be very small and medium, but now they are quite large enterprises and global enterprises in fintech, media, and other sectors too. And so sometimes I say that I have a home lag, not a jet lag anymore, because hey, flying is so last century or something, but now it's getting a home lag at home when working with different time zones and different clients, but it's also very interesting. So one of the interesting bits since COVID actually has been that we have also And I have had the personal pleasure of founding a API collective, which is a group of experts around APIs and often also data in different countries and with decades of experience. And this has been really an interesting journey for the last few years. We're also working a lot as company and also personally with APIs and API economy and data because of that. So organizing API Days Helsinki and North conference as a local organizer of API Days, global API Days series. And then APIOps community management is something we are doing, an APIOps Cycles method that is being used quite often around the world. Last where it was mentioned was API Days Australia, where a big Australian bank is using that method. So that, I think, has given me all this collaboration with lots of different public sector organizations and private organizations has really given me a nice opportunity to look at data economy and look at the problems and issues and possibilities of data economy from very many aspects. So from like Finnish government to European Union to British government, for example, and there it's like the question is not only how you technically build data platforms or APIs or something, but what is the politics of and the governance model of a country, and what does that have to do with how the data is governed, and what are then the business opportunities, for example, for companies that want to deal with the data, open data or not so open data, and how can, for example, public sector and companies work together. And if I look at my personal past, how I came to be in the data economy, I was working, like I was recruited, I was actually like hijacked from university in the first year of university. And Finland was going into the European Union at that time. And we had to build all the agriculture and forestry systems that manage all the benefits, the European Union benefits. And there was this public sector organization that was responsible of doing that, but early on, there were about 50 people and they had to recruit 250 people over 1 year. And of course, nobody knew what they were doing. Like at that time, it was early 2000. There was no APIs. There was no concept of a data economy as we know it now. There was they were very closed systems, and every government organization and every company was like dealing with whatever data they had, and the integration architectures, if there were any, were quite file-based, and it was just slow motion compared to this situation we have. And at that point, we had to solve a lot of problems. We had to model the data so that it was usable for all different parties, because actually we were building a very modern-looking, kind of like today it would be called a microservices architecture, but we were building an ecosystem of data users and data contributors from public and private sectors at the time where nobody had really done that. And we were building digital systems in the time where nobody had even heard the word digital experience or something. So we had a lot of learning to do. And at that time, I think it was pivotal to my future career that I had to learn quickly, but not only personally, I had to make sure everybody else was learning and new things and applying them instantly to the work, and not just only technical things, but also this kind of government legal ecosystem building and other skills. And it was really, really tough in a way, because you had to fight with all the different public sector organizations who said that we don't care what you do, but we do this with our data. And you had to think about how fast you could get the processes running, how similar processes you could get running all over the country, because suddenly you were digital, you were self-service, you were not just having government or public sector employees do whatever they saw fit in each of the municipalities, for example. So it was a huge, I would call it digital transformation, in the sense of transforming the whole way of working, but also the systems and the way data was handled. So animal safety to agricultural, like where are the fields and what is growing on them, but also the kind of business benefits, like investment benefits and that sort of thing. So it was a really big ecosystem where things were just impacting each other. And after that, I went ahead. I was a training manager. I was in an ERP, cloud-based ERP company as a product manager, and I was also unit manager in the public sector for some time, and in charge of the systems and public tendering. And also then I went into a big retail company, and I was in the middle of transforming it to API and database company, and then consulting in a bigger company, a lot of different companies from different industries. So even in the ERP company, we had customers from all over the world, and we really needed to figure out how the data was contributing to what they were able to do for their business, but also how our system was able to deal with the data, and what data to provide to other parties, and what data we needed for ourselves to be more efficient and serve our customers better. So all of that has been an interesting journey across different organizations and situations. And with that, I kind of went into this diagram here. And before I reveal any more, if anyone of the audience wants to comment or have a question about why the data doesn't flow, I mean, I can share my experience about it here now, but I would like you, if you're listening to this recorded or if you're here participating, I would like to discuss or reflect this. Like, why doesn't the data flow in organizations or across the organizations? And why are we here talking about data economy and maybe like trying to get our hands and heads around it? I think personally that the problem is we are looking at it from these aspects a lot. If we are from IT background or data analytics background, we think that the problem is that the data is not modeled in a right way. It's not standardized. We don't know where the data is coming from. Is it from IT systems or, for example, operational technology systems or somewhere else? And those are totally valid problems, and often they are one of the biggest problems that we have. But then we come towards this, who actually needs to deal with data in the organization, and what kind of roles and skills and processes there needs to be. And this comes down to the fuzzy area in a way, because if we then look at the problems that we see in organizations, really, especially in the early days, it's about the communication, internal and partner communication, and in any way external communication, and collaboration, and the missing roles. And I would say that this is a big thing, because if you want to be in the data economy as somebody who works in a role in a company with data and really about in the data economy, this is actually your opportunity. But what is that opportunity? Like, what was the thing that I found out and have seen in a lot of companies is that the problem is this, that we are lacking the idea and the roles of partner and kind of external managers or responsible persons who are talking about data or APIs and data or any kind of interfaces to data with the customers and partners. If this is a so-called traditional organization, aka non-digital or not like selling or providing digital services or products, if we are producing goods or providing kind of human services, we often have these partner organizations and customer organizations who are buying the product or service from us. And those are the ones that we consider partners in the sense of thinking of them strategically and thinking of them as some stakeholders that we need to communicate with and collaborate. But when we talk about data and data products and data as a resource, we are lacking those people who are, well, they could be sales, they could be pre-sales, but often they are also partner managers or community managers or such. And nobody is kind of in charge of dealing with these ecosystem partners and figuring out what to do to make it easier for them to use our data. And that is actually a result of, I would say, a missing role or skill set, because often we are kind of like, I don't know, you have probably heard this, that we are lacking a lot of coders. And everybody wants to be a data scientist. And what a data scientist does is basically quite, I would say, technical or statistical or machine learning, AI stuff to the data. But in order for them to do that stuff to the data, they have to actually know, somebody has to have the idea of what the customers and partners and the ecosystem actually needs from us. And those people are not, I'm not saying they are not existing, but there are very little of them. And partly it's not that they don't exist or that there are no people who could be thinking of these things, but it is quite hard because you need to know something about the subject matter. Like we had, for example, an energy company as a customer for some time ago. And the problem was that in order to think about what to do with the data related to the, for example, smart maintenance of the energy company's infrastructure, you had to understand physics and how electricity works and how the infrastructure for the electricity is maintained. And you had to understand IoT and more like IT related things. And then you had to understand who are the users of the data that is needed, like what are the business processes behind it and what how the data should be presented and what data should be presented, for example, for the maintenance crew to know where to go or some of the managers to know where to invest next. So it's a multi-skilled thing that you need to, a team or person that you need to have, or you have to have some good methods to deal with that situation. And that's kind of one of the things. And of course, if you're lucky, you have both the skills and the methods to deal with it. And if you have any questions in mind, I'm happy to answer. But I think that has been, for me, the kind of personal success story to, well, create the APIOps Cycles method while I was working in Digian and collect a community around it and have it maintained in Osaango. That was one thing. It helps with the APIs, but often the APIs and the data are connected. But also to really work with ways and methods that are making this like discussion with these different people and backgrounds and silos more easy to understand. And I know that Jarkko has been working on that too, and some of it we have been working together with Jarkko. But I think that the strategic and the kind of ecosystem understanding and understanding how people and different stakeholders and organizations, what they value and what they can do and how they need to transform is a key to really be successful in the data economy. So here we have an example of a water utilities case where we had this situation which is a very typical one, that you start the conversation with, we provide water with our system. So like if you're a water utilities organization, you just provide water. You know, that's your reason for being. But then at some point, somebody gets the bright idea that, hey, we actually want to serve our customers digitally. And you think about these mobile apps and user interfaces and things like that, but you don't necessarily think of the data as such. So if you would actually concentrate on the data and how to distribute that data so that it helps actually others to make decisions around the data, then you would actually think about it a bit differently. So for example, we provide enough and safe utilities with data and API-driven partner ecosystem. So I think that is the light bulb moment that needs to be there. But of course, if a professional around data lacks the skills to talk on a strategic level or lacks the confidence in talking on the strategic level, then it's not a bad thing. We need all kinds of people here, but I think that if you really want to think about data economy, you need to think about this a lot. So, and you need to be very interested in how different organizations actually need to work and what kind of ecosystems and use cases you could have. And for example, here we have an example of a real case where we had to rethink how, for example, a water utility organization and ecosystem could actually work, like how the water is produced and how the customer service around the water is produced, not just data or not just technology, but actually how and where and when and who deals with the data. So here's a question, I think. How would you price data products? So if somebody just starts a company. So yeah, that's a good question, and that's a skill set on its own. So of course, there are kind of general rules for pricing. So you should price according to value or cost or a lot of different things that you could use for pricing. But of course, you often companies and professionals think that you have to figure out the cost of producing that data and then price the data products with that cost. But actually, data products often scale very well. So the one-time production cost might be really big, but if you can do something that really scales and other people could be using it, so aka data product or data service, then you can actually get by taking less money out of it than just a one-time cost. But of course, you then have to market and talk to customers and do things. But in general, you have different things. You can even price your data with against some data that you get, or if the customer gives up some of their privacy even, then you can provide them some data for free. So there are a lot of different models, and actually we with Jarkko we did a course with Laura Applied University, and there in Introduction to Data Economy, which you can find at Osaango Academy, you have a lot of theoretical and practical knowledge about how to actually price data products, and especially if there are data services, more than just sort of products in the sense of how they are delivered. Anything that I could still share? So yeah, if I just, say my last words of encouraging somebody to enter data economy. So I would say if you like to research people, organizations, or you like statistics, of course you can then enter data economy in a lot of ways, just analyzing the data. Or for example, if you are a physicist, you would probably make a really great data scientist. But on the other hand, if you are more having a business background or some specific industry background, then those are really good ways of entering the data economy too. But you probably need to talk a little bit of tech or understand some basic concepts of technologies so that you can talk with the people who help you to make those data products or services alive. But the most important thing is still that you have to be interested in how ecosystems, companies, people, processes work, because in the end, they are the ones that produce the data and use the data. And if you don't have, like, this is my last bit of wisdom, but if you don't have a process in place to actually produce the data, or if there are no sensors that you own or can use legally that would produce some data, then most likely your great idea for data is going to die. So I'm so frustrated after seeing a lot of really great consultants and organizations think about this word dashboard. For example, like if I got my way, I would kill all the dashboards, in the sense that it's really nice to see really great figures and measures and metrics and everything else. But there are two things. Where does that data come to those metrics? And what is the thing that people should be doing when they see those metrics? And could they even be automated so that no human needs to do anything and needs to see those metrics? And by the way, there's a lot of data that is not measurable. It's basically all kinds of other kinds of data than structured data or numbers. So I would say those are the ones, things that I see often as blocking or blockers for people who want to be very good in working with data and data economy.
All right. Thank you, Marjukka. I think we're running out of time now, but I think you got to the last slide. And thanks for the couple of questions. And I'm reminding you that this was the first session, and we have every day until the Friday, we have a new session told by a different speaker. And tomorrow is the story by Tekla Vannas about data-driven partners and growth, which basically continues from this where actually Marjukka now ended. So having the products and everything else, but how to actually go even further. Yeah, and we will hear Tekla's story, how she entered into that topics and that kind of data economy aspect. And hope to see you tomorrow, next time, and also on Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, all the days. And I'm reminding that also we are going to share a booklet about the stories of each of the women, so that can be passed on more easily than videos which will be uploaded to YouTube as soon as I get the time to edit these. So thank you, Marjukka, and thank you for everyone, and see you tomorrow.